Outlaw Rogues are ruthless fugitives who use agility and guile to stand toe-to-toe with their enemies, at least according to the talents. I'm going to show you everything you need to know to succeed in Season 1 of The War Within. It is going to be very beginner-friendly, but I do also want to say it is going to be in-depth for those veterans watching, so hopefully it's going to be good for everyone. I want to start off with the stat priority that we need in The War Within. Now, agility is, of course, our most predominantly important stat we're going to get. How do we get more agility? And therefore, secondary stats are higher and higher eye level. I actually have put the secondary stat priority here, but I don't want you to worry too much about this unless you're comparing the same level of gear. So you've got a boots at whatever level and a boots at whatever level. You only want to compare the secondary stats if they're the same level. A higher eye level is generally always going to be an upgrade. Looking at the secondary stats then, versatility is going to increase your damage done, any healing done, and also reduce damage taken. And that is the same across all specs in WoW, which I have covered, by the way. Critical strike, of course, gives us a chance to do more damage. Haste is actually going to increase our attack speed and energy regeneration. Energy regeneration is this here. This is our energy. We have 100 energy as a rogue as default. And that is what we're going to be using to, we're spending to actually cast our spells and abilities. Mastery then is main gauche. Your main hand attacks have a 30% chance to trigger an attack with your offhand that deals a higher and higher amount of damage depending on how much mastery you have, because we are using a weapon in each hand. Now we've gone through that, let's take a quick look at the set bonus we are getting on our gear this season. And if you are a beginner and you don't know these spells, don't worry, I'll be covering them in full shortly. 2 set then of Kareshi Phantom's bindings. Your Sinister Strike, Pistol Shot, and Ambush have a 20% chance to Ethereal Rampage, dealing 15% increased damage as Shadow. So basically, those abilities that I listed off have a chance to do an increased amount of damage as Shadow damage. And then our 4 set, Ethereal Rampage, the ability I just mentioned, or the passive I just mentioned, should I say, additionally increases the damage of your next between the eyes by 6%, and that can stack up to 3 times. So 6, 12, 18% increased damage on our next between the eyes ability. And that is the set bonus. So now we're going to look through the utilities and some of the defensives, etc., that we have available to us as a rogue in The War Within. I do want to say these are not all of them. These are the ones that I think are the most important and that you should know about. And once you're more comfortable with your specialization, or just with Rogue in general, I would say to just go through the spellbook here and just see what you have available. The same will be with the talents for the Rogue side of the talent tree as well, as that is going to be the same on all 3 specs. So, on the left then, we have first, of course, stealth. We as a rogue can go into stealth whenever we want outside of combat. There are a few abilities I'll be showing you in the rotation where we can do it in combat as well, but for now we're sticking to what we can do whenever the hell we want. Now, of course, enemies will not be able to see us when we are in stealth, and we can sneak past most of them. Another interesting ability we have is our kick. This is an interrupt, and a lot of interrupts in the game are actually sometimes called kick because of this spell. It's kind of become the de facto name for interrupts. This is going to interrupt any spellcasting that your enemy is doing, and it's very, very important in both PvP and Mythic Plus. Generally in raiding it's less important, or you'll be using it less, but it is still good to know about. We then have Crimson Vial. Drink an alchemical concoction that heals you for 20% of your maximum health over 4 seconds. This can be seen as a defensive cooldown. However, it is only on a 30-second cooldown. And then we have Cold Blood on a 45-second cooldown. So it's another mini cooldown, if you will. Increases your critical strike chance of your next damaging ability by 100%, meaning you're going to get a guaranteed crit on your next attack. Over on the right then, we've got Evasion, increasing your dodge chance by 100%, and that is on a 2-minute cooldown, so that's a defensive ability. We have Sprint, increasing your movement speed by 100% for 12 seconds. You can also use this while you are stealthed, and it's a really great way to get from A to B in certain fights. We've also then got, speaking of stealth, Cloak of Shadows. This basically provides a moment of magic immunity, instantly removing all harmful spell effects. The cloak lingers, causing you to resist harmful spells for 5 seconds. And lastly, Facility, restoring 100 of your energy. And your mastery is going to be increased by 13.6% for 6 seconds. So energy is the main resource that you can see I've got here as a rogue. And of course, our mastery we spoke about in the stat priority section. And you have got 3 charges of this. Now, like I said, there's loads of other utilities you've got as a rogue. We have things like Shroud of Concealment, where basically you can give your entire party stealth as long as they stay within the shroud. Kidney Shot, Feint, Blind, Cheap Shot, Distract, Sap, Shadow Step, Tricks of the Trade, Pickpocket, Picklock, Kidney Shot. These are all utilities that you have available as a rogue, but as this is a beginner video, I'm not going to overwhelm you with what all of these do. These are the main ones that I would say you should know about. Really, you could argue that Shroud of Concealment is another one. That is another really fantastic one. If I do go into stealth, you can see your allies that are inside this huge circle will also be stealthed for the duration, and it is for 15 seconds. So that's a good way that your whole entire group can get past enemies undetected. But it is on a 6-minute cooldown, so you can't use it over and over in quick succession. Now let's look at the fun bit, which is of course the actual rotation we're going to be playing. For the hero talents, we are going with Fatebound on both of these as an Outlaw Rogue in the War Within. And I will be going through those in a lot of depth for you shortly. So when we actually first come in, we are going to want to be going in stealth and make sure that on our poisons, we have our instant poison applied to our weapon. When we go into stealth, we're going to roll the bones. That's on a 45-second cooldown. And that's going to give us a different variety of buffs. Then it's going to be Adrenaline Rush. Increases your energy regeneration rate by 50% and your maximum energy by 50% and your attack speed by 20% for 20 seconds. It's also going to max out your combo points, and then you're going to immediately use Slice and Dice with those combo points when we're going into combat. So if you don't know, we have 250 energy, and that's the main resource we're spending on our abilities as a rogue. And then we have combo points. Some abilities will generate combo points and some will spend them. Slice and Dice is a spender. It's going to increase our attack speed. The more combo points we use, the longer that's going to be for. And Roll the Bones, like I said, gives you lots of different random enhancements on our combat proficiency, if you will. So that's kind of our little mini opener. And then we're going to proceed with the normal rotation, which for raiding is up here. Wait, am I in the raid spec? Yes, I am. Just making sure. So number 1, we have Facility. It restores 100 energy for you and increases your mastery. Because that's quite a potent combat increase, we want to use this whenever we can. It has 3 charges, and you never want to overcap on charges. And because it restores 100 energy and we have 200, generally I would say to use this to be on the safe side at 50 energy or below, so that we're not wasting the energy we will get from it. After that, I would say to use Roll the Bones, and you can pretty much use it on cooldown to get those combat buffs up. Then we're going to use Adrenaline Rush on cooldown. It is only 3 minutes we can actually use it. We're going to use Ghostly Strike on cooldown, and this is off the global cooldown, meaning we can actually use it even when we're using another ability and it's kind of going round. So Ghostly Strike strikes an enemy, dealing damage and causing the target to take increased damage from your abilities for 12 seconds. So we're going to use that on cooldown to increase how much damage we do. That's going to award a combo point as well. And then we have Killing Spree. We want to use this at 6 or more combo points, and this is our most important finisher. Finishing move that teleports to an enemy within 10 yards, striking with both weapons for physical damage, and the number of strikes is increased per combo point. So if we use 7 points, it's 1.2 million over 2 seconds. 100% of the damage taken during the effect is delayed, instead taken over 8 seconds. So that's our main priority on our finisher, and you can see there we're going behind them and striking them lots of times. Then we have Vanish and Between the Eyes. And specifically, we're going to use these under certain conditions at this point. So Vanish allows you to vanish from sight, entering stealth in combat. For the first 3 seconds after vanishing, damage and harmful effects will not break stealth. We're going to use stealth and then use the Between the Eyes finisher, but only while under Adrenaline Rush. Between the Eyes, finishing move that deals damage with your pistol, increasing your critical strike chance by 20%. Critical strikes of this ability deal 4 times the normal damage. And you can see the more combo points, the more damage we will do with it. If we can't use it in Vanish with Adrenaline Rush, then you're going to use it here instead, okay? After that, we want to keep up our Slice and Dice at all times, increasing our movement speed. Then it's going to be Dispatch if we're at or more 6 of combo points. Because remember, our only finishes here are Killing Spree and Between the Eyes. One's on a 45-second cooldown and one's on a 1.5 minute cooldown. So our main kind of filler, if you want to call it that, or our general use combo point finisher is going to be Dispatch. So if these ones aren't being used, it's going to be Dispatch. Oh, and of course, Slice and Dice. But again, that's going to be if you're using it at 7 combo points, lasting for 48 seconds. Finishing move that basically does damage, more damage per combo point. Ambush requires stealth. Use this whenever you can as a lower priority. It awards 3 combo points each time it strikes. Ambush the target has a 35% chance to hit an additional time, making your next pistol shot half the cost and double damage. What is pistol shot? Well, that's this one here. Draw a concealed pistol and fire a quick shot at the enemy, dealing physical damage and also reducing movement speed and reducing the target's damage done to you for 6 seconds, and that again will award a combo point. We're going to very specifically use pistol shot in regards to this talent here, Fan the Hammer. When Sinister Strike strikes an additional time, you gain 2 additional stacks of opportunity, maximum of 6 stacks. Half cost uses of pistol shot consume 2 additional stacks of opportunity to fire 2 additional shots, and additional shots generate 1 fewer combo point to deal reduced damage. If you're wondering what's opportunity, well, it's actually our first talent on the talent tree. Sinister Strike has a chance to hit an additional time, making your next pistol shot half cost and double damage. And we're going to be using our pistol shot whenever that procs. After that, just use Sinister Strike as your kind of filler combo point generator, and that is going to be the main raiding rotation for Combat Rogue in the War Within. Now, if we go over to the Mythic Plus build, you can see only a few small talents are changing. Thank God for that. So we're getting this one here, your stamina's increased, woohoo. Blade Flurry's initial damage is increased and generates an additional combo point per struck. And Blade Flurry strikes 3 additional enemies. If you're thinking, well, what the hell? What on God's honest earth is Blade Flurry? Well, that's this ability here. So it's the same kind of opener, but we're going to be using Blade Flurry as a very high priority ability. It strikes up to 8 nearby targets for damage that generates a combo point per target and causes your single target attacks to also strike up to 7 additional nearby enemies for half of the normal damage for 13 seconds. Meaning we can do pretty much the same rotation in Mythic Plus with Blade Flurry included, and we don't actually have to really change anything. Woohoo! We are still going to use Roll the Bones, Adrenaline Rush, Ghostly Strike, and then Killing Spree, etc. And then Vanish with Between the Eyes, like I explained earlier. Slice and Dice, keeping it up, using Dispatch, using Ambush from Stealth, using any opportunity shots on Pistol Shot, and then Sinister Strike here. There really isn't anything actually different, apart from using Blade Flurry to actually make it usable on different targets. Now that we've looked through that, we can have a look at those exciting new hero talents for the War Within. So for this Outlaw build, we are going to be looking at the Fatebound hero talents. That is what we're choosing. If you are a beginner, as I always say, or even if you aren't, then don't get too overwhelmed with these, because I have already included all of this in the rotation I've shown you. But as hero talents are new, I think it's good to take a bit of a deeper look than we usually would with the talents here. So Fatebound is basically working around flipping coins. It's quite interesting. I quite like it. Flip a Fatebound coin each time a finishing move consumes 5 or more combo points. Heads increases the damage of your attacks, and tails will just do some damage to your target. For each time the same face is flipped in a row, so if you get heads and then heads again, for example, heads will increase damage by an additional 2%, and tails increases the damage it will do by 10%. So that's quite nice. And it gets even nicer later. Tempted Fate, you have a chance equal to a critical strike chance to absorb some damage taken. Cool. Sinister Strike generates an additional combo point when it strikes an additional time. Lovely, quicker rotation there. Damage dealt when your Fatebound coin flips tails is increased by 30 if there are no other enemies. So if you're doing single target, it's going to do more damage. Mean streak, Fatebound coins flipped by dispatch multiple times in a row are much more likely to match the same face as the last flip. And that's going to be important for another one soon. Activating Adrenaline Rush causes your next Fatebound coin flip to land on its edge, counting as both heads and tails, which is really nice. Then we've got Destiny Defined, where Sinister Strike has a 5% increased chance to strike an additional time, and your Fatebound coins flipped have an additional chance to match the same face as the last flip again. So lots of same faces here. Death's Arrival, where Grappling Hook can be used with a cooldown. Use a second time within 3 seconds with no cooldown. Lovely. Fate Entwined. Fate Entwined duplicates 30% of dispatch critical damage as cosmic to 2 additional nearby enemies. Good for multi-target. If there are, however, no other nearby targets, it will all go to your single target. Your first Fatebound flip after breaking stealth flips 2 coins that are guaranteed to match the same face as well. So when you come out of stealth, we also get some same face flippers. And then Fateful Ending. This is why the same face flippers are so important. When your Fatebound flips the same face for the 7th time in a row, keep the lucky coin to gain 7% agility. That's actually going to last until you've been out of combat for 10 seconds. If you already have a lucky coin, it's going to do a load of damage to target instead, which is crazy. So you kind of want to get loads of same face coin flips, you know, when you get into combat to get that huge agility uptick. But basically, we're flipping heads, we're flipping tails, we're trying to get the same face in as many times of a row as possible to maximize the benefits there. And that's pretty much it for Fatebound. It's really cool. It's really unique. I really like it. Hopefully you guys too, as that is obviously, you know, the build we are playing in this guide. Now looking at the consumables and enchants, etc. we're using as a rogue. The first thing you may notice is that we now, from the weekly Great Vault, have a new way of getting gem sockets for our gear. We can add these with the Nerubian Gem Weaver on our head, waist, and wrist. It's not on this picture. And we can add 2 gem sockets to our neck and both rings now, rather than in the previous expansion where it was just 3 sockets on your neck. And that is with a magnificent jeweler's setting. So you can see 2 on the neck, 2 on the ring, and 2 on the other ring. We're going with Chant of Winged Grace on your cloak enchant, which gives avoidance and removes some fall damage. Crystalline Radiance gives agility. Armored Leech gives leech. Stormbound Armor Kit actually gives agility on the legs. Scout's March gives movement speed. I think it's 250. Mastery on the rings, and then Authority of the Depths on both of your weapons. Authority of the Depths basically means when you're damaging foes, you have a chance to do this big old dark, shadowy damage, and that can deepen, as they like to call it, on the tooltip, which I think that just means it can stack 3 times, which is pretty nice. Then looking at the actual consumables we're using, Alchemical Chaos is the best for DPS, but most people are probably going to go with Versatility for a more rounded out increase in survivability and damage. Alchemical Chaos will rotate your secondary stats. It'll add 7,000 to 1 secondary stat while taking off 600 of the other 2. But what's interesting, and that'll rotate for however long, Tempered Potion will actually add, when you use a potion, that will add to the secondary stats that you're not getting from your flask. So it's really interesting how that works. And it will still do the same thing if you use the versatility one, just it won't give versatility, it'll give the others. Healing Potion is called the Algari Healing Potion. Iron Claw Whetstone adds attack power. It's like 500 attack power for an hour on your weapon oil. If you're using an Augment Rune, it's called the Crystallized Augment Rune. And then we're using Culminating Blasphemites on our gems. An Onyx is generally going to be the best one, but you do want to use different coloured gems, apart from Amber, to get the most effect out of the Blasphemite. So basically, you can use a Ruby, Sapphire, an Emerald, and an Onyx. I think that's the right ones. And what it does is, so the Blasphemite gives primary stat, so agility, but it also gives 0.15% critical strike effect increase per different colored gem that you're wearing. Hence why you want to wear an onyx, a sapphire, a ruby, and an emerald, and then the rest of them you can use for whatever you want to get the full effect from your epic gem. Thank you so much for watching this guide. I hope it was really useful for you in The War Within Season 1, whether it was for Mythic Plus or raiding. If you do have any questions, I'll be happy to help. My Patreon is in the description below, and that is where you can find my LVUI profiles, which I'll show you in a second. And also, I'm putting together a huge macro list for every single spec that's going to be really useful for you in the War Within as well. I am doing all classes and specs for the War Within, so if you are new to the channel, then please do click this playlist here to check out what else I have, which is all of them. There will also be PvP guides on this channel as well for War Within Season 1, so make sure to look out for that. This here is the UI that I was referring to. As you can see, we've got target frames, etc., left and right, and raid frames go in the middle here, and then weak auras in the middle with an action bar down here. Chat is behind where my camera is. Minimap and details, etc., are here on the right. All of the plater profiles, the voodoo, the LVUI, etc., details profile has all been made by me. And again, you can get this on my Patreon should you like it.